Afternoon, YouTubers. Another video here presented by Eric Weil. And today we're going to discuss how does one break into the gaming industry? Well, that's a good question. And I know that has been asked a lot of me, from conventions to just general speaking with people over time. And there's really no easy path in. And in most cases, educations, great portfolios, just the roll of the dice. There's a lot of different scenarios that will play into this, but in all aspects, it is not the easiest thing in the world. You have a better chance of getting into aerospace, getting into telecommunications, working for the government, the military, than you will getting into the gaming industry. I think the only other industries that would come to a near close tie, if you will, would be the music industry, the movie industry, or the porn industry. That's just reality. So for me, breaking in the game industry was interesting, more or less because at the time that I had applied for Sony, the IT market here crashed in Colorado. It was a very tough time for me trying to find work and whatnot. And I helped my sister move out to San Diego, and I applied for numerous jobs while I was out there. And Sony Online was one of them. Cox Communications. No, actually, it wasn't Cox. It was Comcast, I think it was. And a couple other, non-relevant places. We'll just leave it at that. And ironically, by the time I got the call for the interview, it must have been like 4 or 5 months in, about the time that I landed on the campus at Sony for the initial interview. It was intimidating. I think there was like 6 people in the room. All of them were part of the first department I started in at Sony, which was tech support. And I had to take a quiz. I think it was like 20 questions long. They drilled me about a lot of stuff, from technical stuff, stuff related to EverQuest. And to be honest, I really knew very little about the game. I did a little research before the job interview, obviously, but I really was against the grain on this one. So about the time that I got it, and they called me back and they said, "Hey, when can you start?" I was like excited, just like yay. But that's not every scenario that you run across in the game industry. In reality, I'm going to stress education is great, but don't be fooled to believe that your school is teaching you the tools that are required and almost needed in the industry itself. I mean, if you're not learning relevant tools like Unity, I'd say Blender, 3D Studio Max, Unreal. I mean, there's so many different tools. Visual Basic, C+, and it really just depends on what you're getting in for. I mean, if you're going to be an artist, if you're going to be a game designer, I mean, there's so many different fields. But the one thing I stress is that you better be passionate about what you want if you're going in the game industry. I mean, don't just go in that interview or apply for that job thinking, hey, I'm a gamer, I have a good chance. Well, a lot of people are applying for that job, and there's one of thousands of people behind you that want it just as bad as well. So you got to make yourself stand out. I mean, a good example, like if I was to go back to the game industry now, even though it's been years, I mean, my focus would probably be IT at this point, since all the tools and knowledge I know are a little dated. But obviously, what I bring from my IT background is definitely potent. But at the same time, I mean, what else do I bring to the table? Well, you better bring your A game. That's all I can say. Breaking in is, one of those challenging things that once you get to the point of the initial interview, it's really up to you at this point. I mean, if you could basically get through the HR's way of doing resumes, which is simply putting it through a database that pulls information from the resume, such as, okay, does it hit this keyword? Does it hit this attribute? Is there grammar issues? Is there clerical issues with the resume, etc., etc.? Your cover letter, they'll nitpick. But if it basically passes their little flag system, then you're in the door. You're ready to go. So the type of advice I can give to anyone trying to break into this industry, whether an artist, musician, game designer, whatever it may be, as I said, bring your A game. Make sure you research the company before you apply for them. So don't go in nilly-willy and only put a half-assed effort into actually that resume or that cover letter. Know who the CEO is, name some of their titles. I mean, you better have a good understanding of the studio and what they bring to the table and what you could bring to the table as well. Another thing I would stress, obviously, is make sure that resume is bulletproof. I mean, have a friend review it, have another friend review it. Hell, if you have a friend that has a degree in English, let them review it. I mean, you want it to be as solid as possible. But once again, stress your passion for gaming. If there's something not gaming in that resume, then it's not going to flag for anything. No one's going to even care. There's got to be something in that resume or that cover letter that stands out to the people in HR to let them know that you really want this job. Beyond that, other type of advice or inquiries in how to break in the game industry, you know where to find me. I'm all over the place, Facebook, Twitter, and whatnot. See you next time.